Welcome children. Take out your real English book. Chapter 6. What the birds say. This is the story of a young boy who had a special talent of being able to speak to the birds and understand their language. Now, what is the story about? It's the story about a boy, a young boy who has a special talent. As this young boy, he was able to speak the bird language and even understood the birds' languages. Now let's start the story. A lad named Kong Hya Xiang, who lived with his parents in the mountains, understood the language of the birds. Now a lad here refers to boy whose name was Kong Hya Xiang. He used to live with his parents in the mountains. He could understand the language of the bird. One evening, as he was studying, a flock of birds sat on a tree before his window. Now, one evening, what he was doing? He was just studying. At that time, what happened? A flock of birds, that means many birds together, came and sat on the tree before his window, and they started singing. Kong Ya Xiang, on the southern plain, a ship awaits you by a heap of stone. Now, what they were singing? They were saying to Kong Ya Xiang that on the southern plain, a ship is there. A ship is waiting for you near a heap of stones. A fat wether that the dogs have slain, you eat the flesh and you will pick the bones. Now, a fat wether means it was killed. It is a fat wether. That means it is a fat ship, and this ship was killed by the dog. And you take the ship, you eat the flesh, and then we will pick up the bones. Kong Hya Xiang went and brought the ship home and cooked it for dinner. Now Kong Hya Xiang, what he did? He went there, brought the sheep, and then he brought it to home, then cooked it for dinner. The next morning, a shepherd came and said that one of his sheep was missing. That morning, what happened? A shepherd came and said Kong Xiang that one of his sheep was missing. He had found blood on the meadow that had followed the trail. Now, where he had found? How? He had found some bloods on the meadow, and the shepherd, he had followed the track marks of the blood, and it had found him there, to that house, and he had found this mark that mark was leading to Kong Hya Xiang's house. Kong Hya said that he had brought the sheep which was killed by the dog. Now Kong Hya Xiang, he said that he had brought the sheep. He had brought the sheep and it was killed by the dog. The birds had told him about him. And who told him about that? The birds had told him about that. Nobody believed him, as they thought he made up the story. But nobody believed Kong's story, Kong Hya's story, because they thought that Kong Hya, he had just made up his own story. He was taken to the prisoner. So Kong Hya Xiang, he was taken to the prisoner. While he was awaiting his trial before the magistrate, a bird flying eastward perched on the wall saw him and piped. Now what happened? Now when he was waiting for his trial before the magistrate, means the magistrate will come and give him all the order. At that time, in the meantime, what happened? A bird came flying from eastward. It perched on the wall. It sat on the wall, and when he saw Kong Hya, he looked at him. Force approached the western border, banners, bows and spears in order, while the Getlax ordered. Now, what they say? What the birds started singing? Birds started singing that enemies are approaching, means enemies are coming from the western border. Banners are there, bows and spears. They have banners, bows and spears with them. While the gate has very little people, lack of. Gate doesn't have any people to look after it because it was unguarded. Kong Hya Xiang urged this jailer to inform the magistrate of the danger of invasion through the unprotected western part. Now Kong Hya Xiang, what he did? He told the jailer to inform this thing to the magistrate that the danger is ahead, means the country is going to invade by the enemy is through the unprotected western pass. The western pass, it was a narrow pass, and it was not guarded properly. The jailer did not believe in Kong Hyaziang's abilities to speak to the bird and was also afraid of the magistrate. Now, the jailer, he didn't believe in Kong Hyaziang's word because he didn't believe that what Kong Hyaziang was telling, that he has the ability to speak with the birds, and also he was too much afraid of the magistrate. So he decided to test the young boy first. So what he decided, that he would first test the young boy. He took some rice, soaked a part of it in sweetened water and part in salt. Now what happened? So the jailer, what he did to test Kong Hyaziang, he took some rice. Some rice he soaked it in a sweetened water and some in a salted water. Then spread the whole on the roof of a shed. Then what he did? He spread all the rice on the roof of a shed. He brought Hong Kiang and asked him if he knew why so many birds were chirping overhead. Now what happened? He brought Kong Hyaziang and asked Kong Hyaziang that if he knew why so many birds are chirping there. Kong Hyaziang at once replied that those on the roof were hailing those that were flying past and saying. Now Kong Hyaziang, what happened? At once he said that those they are on the roof, they were hailing. What they were doing? They were hailing. That means they were calling others attraction to attract the others attraction. They were who were flying past and saying, "Call a halt! Call a halt! Here is a rice fresh and white. Half is sweet, half is soft. Stop a bit, take a bite." Means they are calling these birds. Kong Hyaziang, what at once he replied that they are on the roof. These birds are on the roof, and they are calling their friends. They are calling their friends who are passing by and saying that stop here. Means they are calling and saying that stop here, stop here. Here some rice are there, fresh rice, white rice are there. Here's half rice are sweet and half rice are salt. You stop here, take a bit, stop a bit for little time. You stop and take the bite. The jailer was convinced that the prisoner understood the speech of birds. Now, jailer, he became too much convinced that the prisoner means Kong Hyaziang, he understood the birds' language, and therefore hurried away to warn the magistrate. So what he did? He quickly went to the magistrate to warn everything. He told the magistrate of the warning and the test. He even told the magistrate about the warning and even about the test what he had taken. The magistrate sent a swift courier to notify the military officers, and a scout was sent to the west. Now magistrate, soon what he did? He sent a swift courier to notify the military officer, and then he sent a troop to the west. Kong Hyaziang words were confirmed and troops were dispatched to strengthen the garrison. Now Kong Hyaziang's what happened? His words came out to be true, and the troops, they were dispatched. That means they were sent for some special purpose to strengthen the garrison. That means they tell them the garrison is the place where the soldiers live. At the pass. The invaders were stopped just in time. Now invaders, what happened? Just in time, what happened? The invaders stopped. They were able to stop the invaders from invading the country. The great service rendered to the country by Kong Hyaziang was acknowledged by his sovereign. Now, great service which was given to the country by Kong Hyaziang, it was announced publicly, means in front of everybody by the king. He was invited to study with the princess. Now, Kong Hyaziang, he was invited to study with the princess and eventually raised to a high rank among the nobles of the empire. And eventually what happened? He was given to a high rank among the nobles of the empire. Now, let me give you the exercises of this chapter. Exercise A, page 42, exercise A. Complete the following sentences. Number 1. The special gift of Kong Hyaziang was his ability to understand birds' language. Number 2. A flock of birds told King Hyaziang about the death ship. Number 3. Kong Hyaziang was put in prison because none believed his story, that the birds had told him everything about the ship. 4. Kong Hyaziang was able to prove his talent by urging the jailer to inform the magistrate of the danger of invasion through the unprotected western pass. Number 5. The king rewarded Kong Hya by inviting him to study with the princess and raised him to a high rank among the nobles of his empire. Now, let me give you the question answers of this chapter. Question 1. What could have happened to the jailer if he had gone to the magistrate and also if Kong Hya was lying? Answer. If the jailer would have gone to the magistrate, he could have informed him earlier about the upcoming of the danger. But if Kong Hyang was found lying, he would have certainly put to death. Number 2. What do you think would have happened to the kingdom had the king and the magistrate not believed Kong Hya? Answer. In such a case, the kingdom would have been invaded by the enemies. Now, take out your diary. Take out your diary and write in your diary. Chapter 6, what the bird said, explain all exercises and question answers given. Write it in your English 2 copy. And with this, I am ending my today's class. Goodbye.